Yeah.
Okay, just want to tell everybody this meeting is being recorded. I would like to call this town board meeting of March 14th, 2022 to order at 6:01 p.m. As always, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'll say it, you could just kind of join in. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so we have a pretty full agenda. We got some great news from our partners at Related, and they have some new elevations to show us for the what we're calling the Commons area, basically the town square type part of the project. And I'd like to introduce Mitch Newman from Lennar and Paul Milana from Howerton, who will be introducing these new elevations to the town board and all of our guests to the meeting tonight. So, Mitch, please go right ahead. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Ken, and I appreciate the introduction. As you said, well, first of all, thank you everyone for your continuing patience and courtesies and cooperation as we work hard together to bring Tuxedo Farms to reality. So tonight, the focus of our presentation is on Paul's presentation of the Commons, and we've talked about it, but now let's take a look at it. Before we get there, just want to remind everyone that our prior focus over the past couple of meetings have been the for sale homes that will be part of the surrounding neighborhoods around the commons. What we hope are wonderful places to call home, whether they're single family, townhome, stacked townhome, or age restricted. But now Paul's going to take us to the heart of the part of the community that brings it all together, that creates that synergy and that coordinated plan. We're excited to have this rolled out, and I'm going to turn it right over to Paul without any delay. So go ahead, Paul, bring us to the heart of Tuxedo Farms.
Okay, thank you, Mitch. I'm very excited. I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully this works and folks can see my screen.
Yes, we
Great.
can.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. It's a pleasure to be before you. We're very excited to share progress on the Commons. So Hart Howerton has been collaborating with ILA Architects. Manish Chadha is on the call today too. So he and his team have been working with our team here to develop these plans for the Commons, and we're very excited. I want to start again just by reminding folks where the Commons is. So here's our overall concept master plan, which you've seen now a few times in each of these presentations. And the Commons is generally right here at the center. Quail Road, just to remind everyone, here's Route 17. Here's a little bit of Interstate 87 you can see here. The sort of central part of Tuxedo is right where my cursor, hopefully you can see my cursor moving around. And Quail Road comes up from the south part, makes its way up through some topography, and then starts to level out. It's generally level as things go on this site through the Commons, and then comes around. It starts to come down and meet 17 again. So the loop of Quail Road is really our main street, and the intersection of Quail Road and Bridle Trail Road right in here is the intersection of Main and Main, if you will. It's why the Commons occurs where it does. It's also because we had some gentle topography and could actually, create a walkable place with some life to it and not have to worry about challenging topography. So we have some nice gentle topography. And what we've been showing you in the past too is these little circles on top of these neighborhoods. That shows a 5-minute walk from center to edge, or 10 minutes from edge to edge. So you can see from the center of the Commons everything that's within a 5-minute walk. So portions of East Terrace, portions of West Terrace. Now there's some topography here, so that does have a factor. Winding Hill, and then Upland Park, which we also anticipate will have some multifamily on the main park and along Bridle Trail Road. Today, we're going to show you some progress on our work on the Commons. I also just want to remind everybody that as we've been talking about Tuxedo Farms, that it's not just one thing, it's many things. It's areas, it's neighborhoods, it's areas of open space, it's areas with more people in them, and some areas that are quiet and more hidden. Today we're talking about a place that's going to be really a gathering spot for the entire community, and one that will have a lot of activity and will bring people together. Each of the neighborhoods that you see here surrounding the Commons begins to support the activity of the Commons. It helps to bring life to the Commons, so it's very important that we began to concentrate that energy and to support the village center so that it always feels lively. And as we move away from the village center, we start to areas that become a little more quiet. And obviously we showed you the last couple of meetings ago some areas that are quite open and have only a few units in them. So this is a zoom in of the Commons. I wanted to show you with the context, just again to show the 5-minute walk circle here, and that's really just taken from the center of the Commons. The Commons is situated between a number of things. We've got East Terrace, just to the, in this case, it's actually to the east. We've got Upland Park just to the west and south a little. We've got this rec center here where we're showing some fields and some courts and parking trails that would be interspersed. And all these yellow lines here are representations of either trails or sidewalks. So the idea is that this is very connected to the immediate neighborhoods, and to the extent that people want to walk, we're trying to make a community that makes it easy to walk and to get around and to foster health in many different ways. In the area that you see here highlighted in the sort of darker red, we're showing about 20 acres of development, about 336 rental apartment units, multifamily, and some mixed use. I'll take you through which buildings are mixed use and which buildings are solely residential. There are, as I've talked about, this is a town center. It's the heart of the community. We see this as a gathering spot. There is a town green or town square right at the center here. It's connected by trails to the immediate neighborhoods. So there are trails through untouched areas. There are trails through recreation areas. So there's nature. There's gathering spots. There's softscapes. There's hardscapes. So something for everyone here. We see this as an area that will be will feature certainly food and beverage events, farmers markets, if you will, on the weekends and in summer months or so, and then neighborhood serving week retail. So things that would be necessary for the convenience of living here. The buildings the units are distributed amongst a number of buildings. Some of these buildings may appear to be quite long to you, but they're in fact multiple buildings, and they're what we're suggesting is that they may be connected on an upper floor with an open ground floor that's a passage, so a little bridge connection between buildings, which helps to make the circulation within the buildings a little more efficient. This is looking at the same set of buildings, but colored in ways that show their predominant use. So we have a collection of buildings south of the square, or on the square, around the square, that we're saying are commercial slash amenity. And so that could be a combination of a cafe or a restaurant. We may have an area that could be used as a farmer's market on the weekends, a fitness center. There's an event center that we're planning here that could be for meeting space or a library, if you will, or a combination. Buildings today usually have more than one function, and that's all in the blue buildings. These are the heights of the building. So those blue buildings are all 1 to 2 stories. So typically 1 story around the square, 1 to 2 stories for the buildings that are on either side of the square. The purple buildings would be mixed use. So their ground floor would be a commercial space. So that could be, again, it could be a restaurant, it could be a shop, it could be something that's, you know, a convenience retail for the community, might be even some live work opportunity. And above that would be residential units. So the buildings that are immediately to the north of the square are 4 stories. So 1 story of commercial, 3 stories of residential above that. And then the buildings that are yellow on this side of the sheet are all residential. So residential ground floor, and then 2 floors of residential above. So those are all 4-story. Those are all 3-story buildings. So 3 stories, 4 stories around the square, and 1 to 2 stories, 1 to 2 stories south of the square. This will actually help us with daylight in terms of getting nice light within the square. We'll have shorter buildings on the south side, so we won't be casting long shadows across the square. The 4-story buildings will actually have nice sunlight on them. So in the winter months, you want as much sunlight on the building as possible. It'll be a great place to have a sidewalk cafe in the summertime, and we'll have awnings and trees that will provide shade in the summertime. So we've shown you images. Some of these watercolor images are actually from a number of years ago, and wanted to remind you what those look like, because really the idea behind the buildings, and even though the details of the design in terms of the way the buildings function around Quail and Bridle Trail Road have evolved since these drawings were done maybe 15 or 16 years ago. The notion of the idea behind the commons has really remained unchanged, and this idea of a village that harkens to all of the great qualities of Hudson Valley towns, that evoke the architecture of Hudson Valley towns. When you're in and around Tuxedo, when you're in a number of Hudson Valley towns, especially as the ones that are sort of southern Hudson Valley, there's a predominance of the Tudor Revival style, which was a style that was very popular at the time that many of these communities were evolving. So we've taken cues from Tudor Revival architecture, and you're going to see concepts that present a contemporary Tudor, one that is very popular actually now throughout the country in new master plan communities. We're seeing more and more of the Tudor Revival being done today. And when I say contemporary, it's because buildings are contemporary if they're built today. They're built of construction methodologies that are contemporary. They're built using floor plans that reflect the way people live today. So obviously more of an open plan than they were 100 years or so ago. You typically larger windows that sort of capture the views and bring light in. So we're not talking about a recreation of 100 years ago. What we're talking about is an evolution of the style that continues to this day. And then just to remind folks that, again, this is a place that people will come together. You'll meet your neighbor. It's a place where you can have a workout, you can have a picnic, you can go to a shop, go to a cafe, hang out, read a newspaper, meet your friends, catch up on all the town gossip and so forth. So we're going to start by looking at a study that we did for one of the residential buildings, and the key plan here on the upper left corners is showing you the ground floor condition. So what you're noticing is that there's some tuck under parking under the residential footprint. So on the ground floor, we have a wide and shallow unit facing the street, and we have a little internal street network in here. And then these are the external street network surrounding. So every unit is actually facing out onto the street. Ground floor units could have stoops that have a direct access from the street. These buildings here that you see around the square have commercial space or community space within their ground floors. And then you can see the units that have residential. In some cases, the grades are, work for us to allow parking completely beneath the footprint of the building. And so in this case, the road here is about 10 feet higher than the parking lot. And so we're able to capitalize on that space, park completely under the building. And then on the first floor, which would be at the level of the sidewalk, we would have a residential unit there above. So every building has a slightly different condition based on its immediate context and the topography around it. But what we're trying to do is provide as much parking under the footprint of the building as we can, and then parking in landscape courts sort of behind the building. So these will be generally single loaded buildings. We have a couple of double loaded buildings, but buildings, some of these buildings are single loaded, and so only looking out towards the street. We also have a lot of street parking. And then of course, we've been showing you parking lots in and around for just convenience of being in the commons. So a lot of available parking for the patronage of the various uses that would be going on in the commons. This is a conceptual elevation that we're working through now, which is we're beginning to develop floor plans. We don't have those to show you today, but obviously the floor plans will impact the way the buildings look. As I mentioned, we'll have ground floor units, and then those may have direct access out to the street, and then stacked units above that. So looking at Tudor architecture, the roof is a very important part of that architecture, and so expressing the third floor as a dormer floor is something that we're looking at, and obviously trying to maximize daylight into these units. So we're looking at perhaps step out balconies or Juliet balconies, and then utilizing techniques such as a little pass through here at the end of the building that would take you into a stair hall that would get you up to upper level units. And this is what a side elevation of the unit may look like here. And then we've also started to look at the mixed use buildings and one of the amenity buildings. Again, these are early concepts as we work through unit plans. You can see here a device of connecting these two buildings. The lower elevation are the two buildings here in red, and the upper elevation is the little pavilion building in the square. So we look at buildings for the one floor amenity building. We look at places like the Tuxedo train station or other train stations within the community, because those often have community uses. There's one in Hartsdale that I love, which has which essentially is a Starbucks, but it's one of my favorite buildings. But there could be a cafe in here. There could be a small restaurant. There could be any number of things. And next door, where we're thinking of a pavilion that might have farmers markets or other changing things that happen in it depending on the seasons. This is what the buildings, as you come up Quail Road from the south and you approach the square, this is what they could look like. We're refining the floor plans and looking at different options as we begin to move through the various elevations. But you can see here the ground floor retail with much more glass storefront type windows, awnings, or small projections which will cast shade in the summertime. But as I mentioned, these are south facing, so in the wintertime, getting as much sunlight as we can to help warm up that facade. Potentially looking at step out or Juliet balconies, and then again that expression of the dormer floor with shed dormers and gable ends that is so evocative of the Tudor architecture. And then we've started to do some sketching, just to sort of experiential. You can kind of see there's some evolution as we've been thinking, because the elevations I just showed you have some slight differences to the sketches here. And this is all a part of the design process. We sketch, we redraw, we sketch again, we study. But essentially this is depicting perhaps a day in the square where there's a farmer's market, some tents set up, people in that cafe that are spilling out in good weather onto the sidewalk. Maybe there's a fountain in the square. Here's a depiction of the bridge connection back to the parking court. And then this is looking down Quail Road, down the row of buildings that line Quail Road, and you can see a little bit of West Terrace, the hillside of West Terrace coming up in the distance. And then finally, just to be an air, what a bird's eye view of the town square might look like. And so you can see we were standing, you can see where my cursor is moving. We were standing right in this location here. There's the fountain, there's the building with the bridge in it, there's Quail Road. So this is Quail Road coming up from the bottom of the page, and then Bridle Trail Road is going across. This is the little pavilion in the square. This is a pavilion that may have a farmer's market in it. You can see here we've set up some tents in the square. So the square should be a very flexible place, a place that in the summertime you can have a lot of different events. You might even have maybe set it up as a movie night or have a small band in there summertime. Wintertime you might have, you know, pumpkins and you know, Christmas trees and other things going on. This is the beginning of the fitness center. You can see here the idea of having an outdoor pool with a deck that connects the two. And then you're seeing into the courts. This is one of the buildings that we first looked at, the residential building. Has some of the tuck under parking at the back and the residential units above, and then a landscaped parking court beginning of Quail Road, and taking advantage of the sort of angles of the street and the buildings, and potentially having spill out space on the sidewalk. You can see here the notion of a small terrace with some spill out space. And then this building here could be the community center. We're showing it right now as a sort of bent L, but it's looking out onto a wetland and wooded area with trails. And so you could have trails that come right up to it, and it would have a beautiful view out to the forested natural areas. So you have a really nice juxtaposition of the center of town and these forested, preserved areas right next to each other, which I think would be very powerful. And you see that all over the Hudson Valley, where topography or natural drainages and streams and so forth come right through the center of town. And it's really beautiful to see nature and the community come together. And that's where we are for the Commons today.
Thank you, Paul. Very exciting. Actually, I'm intrigued by the design, and I'd like to turn the microphone over to my colleagues on the town board.
This is Michelle. I think this is exciting because I think that the rest of the community, through communities, I should say, plural, throughout Tuxedo, will look forward to coming down to this center for all the amenities that you'll be providing. Thank you. Oh, I do have one question. The renderings showed a lot of mature trees. Are we going to get the landscape plan for next Thursday?
Hi, Michelle, it's Mitch. No, I didn't anticipate that, but we could take a look at it and see if we can get there.
Okay, because I think in the letter that Brad sent, he was talking about the design guidelines would have a landscape plan. So if it's not next Thursday, that's fine. I was just curious if we're going to see it then.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll make a note of it so that we make sure that we're getting it, that it's on our list. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Deirdre. Thank you for that presentation, Paul. I thought it was really excellent. I really do think that you did capture a lot of the what I call the DNA of Tuxedo. I do think that the approach that you're taking with the Tudor revival is probably most appropriate for, you know, the Tuxedo look that we're all looking for. So I do have one question also, which is in the commercial space, the downstairs floors, how high are those ceilings for the retail space? Are they larger or are they higher than the above floors?
Yeah, so right now we're planning for, in our design drawings right now, we're planning for 18 feet from the ground floor to the first residential floor. which
Mhm.
gives us, 4 feet or so to work, say 3 to 4 feet of what's called plenum, which is the gap between the ceiling and the actual structure. And that's very helpful to do mechanical, air handling, equipment, lighting. Sometimes that area is revealed, and so you get more of an industrial look. I showed you an image of a cafe that had kind of an industrial interior. You could do that, but somewhere in that world of 17 or 18 feet is what we're planning for, and then the residential floors would be smaller than that, to give flexibility for the retailer.
Great. Okay. And I did like the connection of the walking trails, because I do think that part of the unique selling proposition to this community is the fact that it's integrated in the nature, and connecting communities would be really nice. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that was, hi, this is Maria, Maria May. So I thought so too. I really like the Tudor revival architecture. It has that, Hudson Valley, the tuxedo look. And I also liked the different heights and the connection between the town bustling center and nature, because I think that's one of the things that makes Tuxedo really attractive to those of us who live here. So yeah, I think it's good.
I guess that means it's my turn. It's Jay Reichgott. So all the nice things that everybody said, pretend I said them too. What I have gotten for the maybe not so nice things, concerns expressed by a number of residents about light pollution. And, obviously it's going to be brighter as a development than as the woods that it currently is. But people are worried about parking lot light stanchions and et cetera, et cetera. So I just urge you to consider what they call the dark sky compliant light fixtures, which is a poorly defined term, but that's what we want.
Hey,
And
Jay, I'll just interrupt you just on that one point, if you would let me. We actually have a consultant. We haven't talked about this as a group with Paul or Dylan or anybody, but I do have a consultant that we've worked with for this exact issue in a couple of other towns, and made our focus so that the fixtures and the positioning of the fixtures achieve the goal that you're talking about. So I thank you for bringing it up. So at our next, I'm kind of looking at Dylan and Brad and Paul. At our next internal meeting, let's dig into this, and I'll be happy to introduce everyone to the person that I thought did a really good job of finding the right path for us. So, Jay, back to you. Sorry about that, but
no,
thanks for bringing
that's
that up.
perfect. And I'm glad to hear it. And as you no doubt have experienced, if you're thinking about this in the design phase and are picking the correct fixtures and the correct placements, it really shouldn't be, easy for me to say, but it shouldn't be a significant hardship on the design or on the project. It's just a matter of thinking about it from the beginning. Other than that, I'm going to reserve further comment until I've had more of a chance to digest all of this pile. So yeah, back to you all. Thank you.
I'd just like to add, I recently walked the site on Friday, and first of all, it's a massive site. When you look at that map that Paul was showing, first of all, it's positioned north to the right, south to the left, and what a 2D map doesn't show is the topography changes that are striking. West Terrace is way above where the Commons is, and when those mature trees start to grow back, as Michelle was bringing to our attention, you'll have very distinct neighborhoods and really interesting topography. So It's not a flat spot in any way, but where the commons is situated is, as Paul was stating, perfect spot where this can really come together. It's in the center of this community, and have high hopes that something really nice could come together there. And if this is a first step inkling of where we're headed, I think you're going down the right path.
Okay, thanks, Ken. We appreciate your feedback and the feedback with the other board members, and look forward to anything else that they need to share. As Brad had mentioned in his letter, we're looking to be back before you on the 24th, and at that time, we I guess get some feedback on the tech memo, and if we have any of the design standards to present, we'll do that at that time.
Well, fantastic. So this was really just a sneak peek. Really didn't even have it on the agenda because this came about after the agenda was actually assembled, and just glad to give everyone a first glimpse at what's been developing. And we did get from Brad a lot of stuff to review, updated tech memo, and a lot of maps. And so we'll just go over that with the town board members early next week, so everybody knows what to prepare for the 24th. Bonnie, did you have anything you wanted to say in preview?
I would just add that I think that the design is actually very consistent with what has been in the past, kind of consistent with the design standards. Not that we can't change, but I think that there is this overall consistency of what the commons was going to be, you know, in terms of the architecture and beyond architecture, just the feel of it with the amenities, with the commons being a gathering place for the town, connecting to various neighborhoods within the town. I just think in terms of the development itself, to give some thought to how this common sort of feathers out as far as consistency with adjoining neighborhoods, because we have, you know, Lennar having its type of models and architecture, and then we're going to have this area with a particular architecture, and how does, you know, in the closer in neighborhoods that adjoin the commons, how do we make that all cohesive? I think when you're in the active adult area, because it's farther out, you know, there's not that real direct relationship. But again, I think to give some thought to how does this all meld together, both in architecture and also just in the site design itself. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sean, what's the preview on engineering? I know you'll be reviewing a lot of stuff, and maybe give us the quick what's coming from an engineering standpoint.
Sure. I reviewed Bonnie's comments from February that primarily relate to planning and touch on architecture and some of the other issues. My role in this is to, as you said, look at the engineering issues. I'm going to be looking at the water supply, wastewater conveyance, and also stormwater and grading design. So those are the items where I'm going to be looking. I understand the applicants intended to reduce the overall footprint, reduce that limit of disturbance. So very interested to see how they're going to do that and also balance the site, which I know is a goal of theirs.
Larry or Howard, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I just would echo Bonnie's comments regarding the cohesiveness of communities, feathering out, I think she said, and because that kind of jumped out at me when I saw it. So other than that, I have nothing further.
I'm just so happy that we continue. This town board is working as hard as possible, keep this moving on track, and kudos to everyone involved. But the town board really has stepped up and show up for all these meetings, and deserve a lot of credit. we're doing everything possible to make this a reality. So thank you all. So if we're done, I'd like to transition to our agenda for the town board, and thank you, Mitch and Paul. And here's your chance to run for the hills, so to speak. And unless you're so into like town government talk, we're about to launch into our agenda. So thanks for
All right.
coming.
We'll take off, Ken. Thank you very much for your time and attention, everybody. Look forward to continuing this path. Thanks.
And thanks, Bonnie and Sean, for coming out. And we'll be communicating before the 24th to make sure we have a clear agenda that we could share both with town board members and the public.
Have a good
And
night.
Good
And
night,
thanks to
everybody.
all our planning board people I see here.
night.
Thank you for taking your time to Brad. Thanks for coming and keeping us moving forward. So, all right. Now I'm looking at, I'm going to change the order of the agenda items. Number 1 is a resolution to retain an appraiser for tax. I always never sure how to pronounce this word, certiorari proceedings. That's my version of it. We need to consult with our attorney about that before we before we take a look at that and take some action. So I'm going to move that down. So we're at the resolution introducing local law and schedule a public hearing on a local law amending Chapter 98 of the Code of the Town of Tuxedo to revise special use permit regulations for existing automotive gas stations. I think I can introduce that topic. So tonight we're trying to introduce a local law. I'm not sure what number it is. I guess it's number 1 of 2022, but I might have forgotten that. It's a local law amending Chapter 98 of the Code of the Town of Tuxedo to revise special use permit regulations for existing automotive gas stations. Basically, this is a pretty simple action to amend our code. Really, we're just removing one sentence, and it has to do with the amount of fuel stored on site. This was an issue that wasn't really contemplated by the town board when we were setting up this new code. And so I'll just read the section 1, the purpose and intent. The purpose of this local law is to remove a sentence which the current special use permit regulations for existing automotive gas stations that limits the expansion of fuel storage. It is the belief of the town board that limiting the amount of fuel on site does not adequately allow for existing gas stations to replace existing tanks and make site improvements as technology advances, as newer technology tanks often have increased fuel capacity. The town board acknowledges that removing this prohibition does not automatically allow an existing station to increase fuel capacity, and that existing site limitations and planning board review of any proposed site plan, special use permit amendments are sufficient to limit and control proposed increased fuel storage at existing sites. As existing stations within the town are limited, the town board also recognizes that the impact of this zoning code amendment would be minimal, yet still incentivize existing stations to update the fuel tank storage tanks as technology advances and safety measures are improved. So the section 2, the amendment to Chapter 98, Section 51, subsection D1, states the town code of the town of Tuxedo is amended by revising Section 51, subsection D, titled Individual Standards for Special Uses, Automotive Gas Stations, of Chapter 98, titled Zoning, to delete the following sentence. Quote, nothing herein shall allow any increase in the amount of fuel stored on the site. So that statement that prohibits the increase in the amount of fuel stored on site will be stricken. And again, this is all, any plan still is subject to planning board review. It has to still fit the bulk standards of the site. And I'll turn it over to Howard to make any further comments on that, Howard.
No, I think you've said it pretty clearly. This provision creates a burden on the operations of the two gas stations that we have in town, unnecessarily so, because whatever this would prohibit automatically is still within the ballpark and framework of the planning board and its review process that is otherwise required anyway. So this allows the flexibility for the operations, and as the purposes say, to allow for, you know, increased safety and technology advances to be able to be replicated in the town.
And also, this also makes a fair playing field. There is only one other gas station in the town of Tuxedo, the Valero on Route 17. And according to the code as written now, that's the only other, there is no other opportunity for an additional gas station in the code as is written now. And so this is a minor change, but that's, and we're not anticipating any changes to the Valero station. That's by comparison, a much newer facility than the old Gulf Station. And so I'm going to, I think I'm ready to make a motion, and then I guess, and if there's any town board discussion at this point, it seems appropriate. Jay, did you have anything? I think you were shaking your head no.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Maria, any question or
I
comment?
think we had a discussion. I think we had a brief discussion before. I'm satisfied.
Deirdre or Michelle?
Yep, we had that discussion last week. We're good. I'm good. Thank you.
Yep. I think we're ready to vote.
Need a motion.
Okay, well, what we're doing here actually is setting up for a public hearing. So I'll read the resolution and introducing the local law and providing for a public hearing, notice and hearing. Be it resolved that an introductory local law entitled, quote, a local law amending Chapter 98 of the Code of the Town of Tuxedo to revise special use permit regulations for existing automotive gas stations, end quote. Be it hereby is introduced by, I guess I'll put myself, Kenneth English, before the town board of the town of Tuxedo and the county of Orange and the state of New York, and be it further resolved that copies of the aforesaid proposed local law be laid upon the desk of each member of the town board, and be it further resolved that the board hold a public hearing on said proposed local law at Town Hall, 1 Temple Drive, Tuxedo, New York, at 7 p.m. on March 28th, 2022. And be it further resolved that the clerk publish or cause to be published a public notice in the official newspaper of the town of Tuxedo of said public hearing at least 10 days prior thereto. And be it further resolved that the clerk transmit or cause to be transmitted a copy of the local law to the Orange County Department of Planning as required pursuant to New York State Municipal Law 239M. And be it further resolved that the clerk refer or cause to be referred a copy of the local law to the town planning board as required pursuant to Article 16 of Town Zoning Code. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Michelle.
Seconded by Michelle. Again, I'll just, as procedural, open it up for any further town board discussion. I think we've eliminated that already. I think, so resolution, I'll take a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Aye.
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 Any opposed? 5 ayes. Okay, that motion, that is resolved. Resolution has been passed. Thank you. All right. We're going to move to a resolution to enter the Stop DWI intermunicipal agreement with Orange County. This is basically an annual funded activity through Orange County. Have a memo in front of me from Brendan R. Casey, Orange County Stop DWI coordinator. I'll just read the beginning of it. This is dated February 17th. This is the Stop DWI Traffic Safety Program. Enclosed is the department contract for the 2022 Stop DWI Regular Enforcement Patrol Year, funding beginning on March 12th, 2022 and ending on January 1st, 2023. The contract is for participation for the full year. The enclosed contract indicates the not to exceed total hours and/or dollar amount for the first period, beginning on March 12th and ending on June 1st, 2022, in the amount of $2,814.40. You will subsequently be notified by letter of the awarded amount of the total dollars hours for the second and third period of the year. Please review the Schedule A attached of the contract for enforcement dates and reimbursement requirements. So this, sorry, I'm not, it seems to indicate that this is just the first payment for the first period and that 2 subsequent periods and payments would be forthcoming. All good news. Just further bolsters our police enforcement with the focus on DWI. I'd like to make a motion to grant permission to hire. Oh, no, sorry. I'm reading the wrong page. Excuse me. So let me see where that.
Go
Got
back
it in
to
front of me.
page.
You want me to read it, Ken?
That'd be great. Thank you, Jay.
All right. Whereas the town of Tuxedo desires to enter into the annual agreement with the county of Orange to provide enforcement patrol funding to the town from March 12, 2022 through January 1, 2023. And whereas the town board hereby approves and authorizes the supervisor to sign the agreement in the form annexed with the county of Orange for the period of March 12, 2022 through January 1, 2023. Now, therefore, be it resolved on a motion made by Jay Reichgott and seconded by
I'll second.
Maria May. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's unanimous. No nays.
Excellent. I'll make sure our chief of police has that information tomorrow. Resolution to approve a film permit.
Marissa sent us a clarification with the map of where, the filming is going to take place and the parking and the where the police will need to cross people on 17 up to Tuxedo Motel. So that was very helpful. Thank you.
So I believe the staging area for a lot of the production trucks is going to be at the Red Apple, and then they walk across to Tuxedo Motel.
Do you want me to read the resolution?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. I'll make the motion and I'll ask for a second to grant permission to High Roller Productions to film in the town of Tuxedo at the Tuxedo Motel on April 11th through April 12th, 2022. High Roller Productions has submitted all necessary paperwork for permit as well as a contract with the police department for coverage during filming. I think we've reviewed this. Do I have a second?
I'll second. It's Deirdre.
Deirdre. So discussion, do we want any further explanation of this? Or question?
Well, what I'd like to see in writing that the property owners have signed on for this. I'm not seeing that, but doesn't mean that it wasn't submitted in a packet.
And I'd like to see the contract with the police.
Yes, I would too. I want to see the hourly amount, make sure that it's in alignment with other contracts we have, most specifically the Ren Fair.
It's supposedly the same rate. as the Ren Fair.
I just
Well,
want to verify that.
Yeah.
I'll offer an amendment that we approve it subject to review by council.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm
And-
good.
So I don't have any further questions.
So, we will. Let's see. So I made the motion and, Deirdre seconded that we will grant, provisionary permission, subject to attorney review to High Roller Productions to film in the town of Tuxedo at the Tuxedo Motel on April 11th through April 12th, 2022. Is that good enough, Howard? Do we want to add anything else to that?
Nope, you've got
resolution?
it covered.
Okay. All right, can I have a vote? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, thank you.
No nays, no nays. Okay, and we're cooking. Okay, resolution to approve Tuxedo LDC bylaws. Okay. Little background, Tuxedo LDC is the Tuxedo Hamlet Revitalization Local Development Corporation that was funded as part of the related Tuxedo special permit history. And this is a fund that's basically been sitting idle for a couple of years. And when the newly constituted board last year was reviewing the bylaws, and there was some vagueness in the appointing of members, and this minor change to the bylaws is intended to clarify who appoints members to these board. And basically the clarification stipulates that it's the town board that is what's called the member in the bylaws and has the duty of picking 3 of the members, which are 2 town board members and a representative of the planning board. Historically, it's been the supervisor and deputy supervisor and the chair of the planning board. And so that's the current makeup of this board, but the bylaws needed to be formally approved by this one minor change by the Tuxedo Town Board. So that's the basic setup. And I did forward the verbiage to town board members, and basically the motion that I'll ask for a second in just a moment, that the town board approve the amended and restated bylaws of the Tuxedo Local Development Corporation to 1, make it clear that the town board is the sole member of the LDC. That's the only amendment that's happening here this evening. And it really just also deleted any mention of non-voting members, because basically non-voting members is anybody the town board anybody the LDC wanted to listen to help them make their decisions and just get background information. So that notion of non-voting members was really a vestige that just confused the issue. So that language has been dropped, and it just clarifies that the town board is the member. So I'll ask for a second so that we could open it up to discussion. Do I have a second on this?
I'll second, Michelle.
Okay, that officially opens the discussion to members of the town board.
I
If
do
you-
have a question. Are we going to drop the second condition?
Okay, good question. So the second condition was, would we have a member with the background in finance that was discussed to replace an institutional lender. Well, the counsel from Harris Beach, Rachel Baranello, said, you know, that is a stipulation that if we went back to, if the loan fund was ever funded, so to speak, you would need that institutional lender, somebody who would actually be a loan officer of the bank, to who would be controlling those funds if and when they were deposited. So since this board is only needs a quorum of 3 and there's 4 members on this board, she advised that we just stick to the clarification as to the sole member of the LDC. Does that answer your question, Michelle?
Well, so then we have to change the resolution here that's in the packet.
Right. Just
but-
strike the second one.
Okay, so we'll hopefully get to the point where Related is funding the loan program under this LDC. We would have to come back to the town board and add the financial advisor or institutional lender.
Well, add the person, but the provision is going to still be there because we're not striking it. And the loan officer would be from the financial institution where the money's deposited. So
Okay.
it's not like we have to go out and search for somebody.
Loan officer seat will remain vacant until we need a loan officer.
Well, then
Correct.
Correct, yeah. So you said we're not adding that second part, or we are. We're just gonna leave it vacant.
We're not,
No,
we're going to strike item 2 here. We're not going to require that one board member have a background in finance.
Correct. And if you read the bylaws that were presented to you, that was stricken, and the wording for the institutional lender is still there.
Oh, okay, we're keeping it in the bylaws. Okay,
Correct.
got it.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
And you might just want to mention for the public that the 4th member of the board is Greg Goucher from Related.
Right. From the bylaws, the makeup are 5 members, 2 from the town board, 1 from the planning board, 1 from the Related, and then the institutional lender when an institution is identified and funding is placed in a loan account.
Right, okay, perfect.
Any further comment or questions from the town board? No. Excellent. So I think I made the motion and was seconded by Michelle. Since there's no further comment from the town board, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Okay, 5 yeses, 5 ayes. Okay, cooking along here. Resolution to approve budget modifications. Okay, town board members were issued, where is this one? Not sure this is in the packet, is it?
The motion is, but are you looking for the actual estimate?
Oh, I see the budget modifications. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, excuse me 1 second. Oh. No, number 6. Number 6 in the packet has to actually do with number 7 on the agenda. Do you see that?
Yep.
So again,
First, we have to do the budget modification and then we can approve the purchase.
oh, okay. I was thinking this was the budget modifications that we needed to approve that was submitted by Andrew Arias. So I misread the agenda. So I guess I have to add that about the Andrew Arias budget update, budget modifications. Okay, now thank you. I'm clear on which budget modification we're talking about here. So yes, this is a budget modification. I'll ask for a second in a moment to introduce to move some funding around from the highway department's DA budget 5130.2 machinery equipment, an increase of $140,000 and a decrease in the DA 5142.4 snow removal contractual, which is basically salt. Per Highway Superintendent Rob Dolbaum, the town has purchased enough salt to last the remainder of the calendar year for 2022, and a truck is available to be purchased. So he had put together an explanation for the town board, and I'd like to make that motion and get a second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Maria. Open it up for town board comment and question.
I understand it's a truck and relate in the equipment that goes with that, right? Like, not
The
just.
snow plow and all the gear that fits on the front. I know Rob's on this call, and
Oh, yeah, that would be good. If he wants to clarify.
not sure if we've
Well,
identified.
this resolution, unless I missed something, this resolution is for the budget transfer, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah, we can just do that and then
Okay.
on the next motion, have this discussion.
I was just thinking that you'd probably, before you approve the budget, you might want to understand
Do it,
what
do
it
it.
was about, but
Yeah.
go ahead, Rob.
Go ahead, Rob.
And the question, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Just
Because,
basically explaining the kind of truck and what its purpose is.
This is a mid-level plow truck. It's to replace the four-wheel drive truck that we surplused last year. The goal was we didn't want to put $25,000 to $30,000 into an 01 truck for the season, and we would have enough salt for the year. We didn't have to make a we didn't want to take a big dip in the budget.
Oh yeah.
Right. So we offset the budget expense with the budget dips so that we could buy a truck. And excuse me a second, I got somebody else is calling me. Got something going on. We didn't want it. Excuse me. We didn't want to reduce the budget this year by a couple $100,000 and then next year have to increase it again by a couple $100,000. So we would keep the budget even. We would buy a truck that we needed to replace the truck that we got rid of already. And next year we would go back to our annual 2,000 tons a year of salt. So that's the idea behind this.
Thank you.
This is not, wait a minute, this is not the truck that you were talking about with the grant, Michelle. This is a different truck. So
Yes.
I know you
Yeah.
had questions. I know you had questions about that. That is a different truck, and that's a totally different vehicle that we're going to start talking about now. To start talking about that, replacing that truck. But no, this is not that truck.
Okay, perfect. Because, okay, we'll discuss the grant.
Because that grant, we have something in line for that grant. We're in the process of getting prices for it. And if that grant's still available, we'd like to take advantage of it because we do have an 06 Ford pickup that we would like to upgrade or update. So that would be the grant truck.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Good plan.
Okay. That's it. That's what I got.
So, I mean, this
Any
is
other
just a budget modification, moving money already allocated to the DA highway fund from what was earmarked for salt, which we don't need, to equipment, which we do.
Right. And I'd like to make it clear that that includes November, December salt. That's already, we still have that in-house, so we're not purchasing any salt. That's the end of the fiscal year, and that's the end of the year that this salt would have been provided for, so.
Very good. As far as the budget mod goes, does any town board member have any further comment or question?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay, I'd like to take a vote to approve the budget modification. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we have 5 ayes. Then the related resolution to purchase the highway equipment. I'll make a motion, ask for a second in a minute, to authorize the purchase of 1 International CV along with equipment at a price not to exceed $140,000. 1 International CV red 22,500 gross vehicle weight truck body and the associated Viking equipment package for this truck body. And the town board did receive the details, which I'm not going to read, as to all the specifications of the truck. And do I have a second on this?
I'll second.
Okay, Deirdre's got it.
Deirdre? Open the floor to town board discussion.
I'm good.
Is this on state bid?
I'll ask for Rob to. I think Rob's dealing with a problem. My understanding that it is, yes, we're getting this through state bid.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, it is, Howard.
Thank you.
State bid is on the bid form. That's in the package with the all the information on the truck.
So why that's an important question. When you go through the state bid process, it eliminates the procurement of 3 bids because the state contract is determined to be the lowest approved price anyway. So did I say that halfway correct, Howard?
Pretty close.
Pretty close. So any further questions on that from the town board?
No,
No.
Okay.
not here.
I'd like to do a raise of hand vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it, 5 ayes. Okay, so that was 6 and 7. Now, we did have budget modifications. I'm sorry it's not in the packet. This was that January 19th memo from Andrew Arias, and I think it's important that we get this done tonight. Brian, I know you were working on this with me, and I believe I did send this all out to town board members, and unfortunately, somehow missed my mark in getting it to Marissa. Does anybody have that
I have it.
memo
me to show
available
it?
that you could bring up, and maybe I can get Howard to formulate it in a resolution so we could just approve the budget modifications as they stood.
I have it right here. Oops, sorry.
No worries. I see Brian Sullivan is on with us, and I might need him to just give us the overall highlights. Andrew Arias was going to be available, but the town board did review it, and I didn't think it was necessary.
You
So
have
thank
it?
you,
Can you see
I
it?
do. I could see.
See
Yeah.
it. Thanks, Maria.
I don't know if you could. Oh, I can make my screen a little bigger. Thank you.
The critical pages are really the last two.
So this is just again showing from Andrew Arias, you know, that these are typical end of the year budget modifications, and as he points out, the vast majority of expenses have been entered into the accounting system, with the exception of the following potentially significant items. And you know, these are really bookkeeping changes. There's no increase to the budget. And what I'd really like to point out is when you look at the fund balance, I know there's been some inaccurate comments about where our fund balance has arrived for 2021. If you look at the total from the fund balance from December 31st of 2020 to the December 31st of 2021, I'm sure this town board is proud to report that there's an increase in the total fund balance of $966,871. So just to assure the public that these changes that are happening to the budget are really just moving money between categories, and that no additional funds are being expended here.
And so what you want to do, Ken, is you want to make a motion to approve the budget modifications outlined in the January 19th, 2022 letter from Cooper Arias.
What he just said.
And
That's-
then,
that's the
Maria, if
motion.
you scroll down to the last two pages, it
Three.
shows what those are. Keep going.
I think it's the 3 pages.
Maybe 3 pages. You'll have to rotate them, or everyone
I
will
know.
have to turn their
Oh,
head.
sorry. Here we go.
Thank you.
Am I going too fast?
No,
Well, I don't think we've all read them before. The important is the heavy type, and notice that all of the increases and the decreases are the same amount. What we're doing is moving money in the funds from places where we didn't spend it to places where we needed to spend it. To use my second favorite analogy, this is like moving your wallet from your left pocket to your right pocket.
So essentially, you're just changing the accounting codes
Correct.
to the next. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget modifications that were proposed for the year end December 2021 as stipulated by Cooper Arias's January 19th memo, and the documentation that will be delivered and that you're seeing on the screen now. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second. Oh, let Jay do
Don't
it.
second that.
So I'll go with Jay on that one. Any further comment or question by town board members? I'll take that as a no. Okay, I'll take a vote to approve the budget modifications as identified across the funds in this memo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Cross that one off as well. It's a new business. I'm going to do department updates. I also I will be proposing an executive session for advice from council. I'll explain afterwards, but I just wanted to let the town board members know that we're going to try to get through all the department updates and stuff as quickly as possible so that we could break off into the session with our attorney. So we're up to department updates, and I have monthly reports from our animal control officer, Michael Cardona, from the Justice Court and the town clerk. And first of all, I wanted to make sure I took an opportunity to introduce Michael. I see Michael on the screen. Michael, why don't you wave so everybody knows who you are and unmute yourself and introduce yourself. First of all, we're lucky to have Michael. Michael is an experienced canine officer from the NYPD and perfect fit for an animal control officer. Michael, say
Good
hello.
evening, everyone. And of course, my name is Michael Cardona, and I'm glad to be here and introduce myself to everyone. Hope everyone is
And
well.
you live in the town of Tuxedo, no, Michael?
Yes, I live in East Village Road. I believe I've been here almost about 16 years, almost 17.
Wow.
So,
I don't know why I thought you were a relatively newcomer. Maybe it's because you recently retired from NYPD. Is that correct?
yeah, I'm always working, or I'm a quiet person. I'm usually home or with my family.
Well, very good, Michael. Well, I'm glad we found you and that you heard the call and the dog whistle and you responded. Great to have you.
Thank you.
So I see your report in the packet, and you have vigorous patrols all throughout the town, meeting neighbors. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you look for when you're out on these patrols?
I'm usually looking for to actually introduce myself to anybody that I may bump into while I'm driving around certain areas. I'm also looking for, dogs that are unleashed, people that are not picking up after their dogs. And the next report, you'll probably be seeing a little information about some issue that a lot of the towns have been having with abandoned beagles. I've been patrolling certain areas, especially Long Meadow Road. And unfortunately, he did hit 3 days ago and abandoned a beagle off of Ironwood Road. It took us about 2 days to trap this beagle. I actually had to call a professional trapper. It took me 5 hours on Thursday. I couldn't catch him. She spent from 5 p.m. on Thursday to 7:30 in the morning on Friday and couldn't catch him. The highway department called me Friday morning about 9:30, letting me know that they saw the beagle again. So I called the trapper back. She came back and she trapped him at 3:30 p.m. and he is safely at the Warwick Animal Shelter, recuperating.
So you were explaining to me what you suspect is happening, why necessarily beagles are being abandoned.
Supposedly, in my opinion, I think it's a breeder just getting rid of his old stock. This dog is an adult male, and a lot of times when they finish breeding, they're done with the breeding process. They just can't sell them, and instead of taking them to a shelter, they just abandon them somewhere, and they don't care, And unfortunately, two were captured. 2 beagles were safely captured in Warwick. There was 3 in the onion fields by the same trapper that I used. Putnam got hit in 2020, Watertown in 2021. I'm not sure where the other towns are, but I know my case is the 13th beagle that has been rescued.
Outrageous.
So unfortunately, we don't know who it is yet, but hopefully he'll be caught soon.
And then I see in
Michael?
your, oh, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a question. Who investigates these kind of cases? Do you do, or
What happens is, you can forward it to the SPCA. who investigates cruelty to animals. But right now, all we have is paperwork. I know they are aware of the situation because it's been in the news. I'm sharing information with the Goshen Police Department. That's how I found out about this. So we're kind of sharing paperwork. I did contact the Hudson Valley ASPCA, and I'll be forwarding my information to them once I get everything together.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So another typical kind of call that Michael would encounter, I noticed in your report, was you received a phone call from police officer Gunderman regarding a cat stuck in a tree. And because the cat was in a pretty precarious spot, a ladder was placed actually to try to entice the cat to climb down. And how did that play out, Michael?
Yeah, that was pretty bad. The tree was just on the side of a cliff, and once I put two steps on the ladder moved. I'm like, okay, I'm not going up this ladder. I think the Tuxedo Police Department had someone that was in the tree business, so they contacted him. He came back. I think he showed up the previous day, and he actually climbed up the tree and got the cat down. So they needed a professional for that one.
A good ending for both of these stories. And
Yeah.
thank you for your patrol report. And again, like to introduce
Question for
Michael.
Michael.
Please go ahead, Michelle.
Michael, it's Michelle.
Sure.
You patrol in the town, but you respond to situations in the village as well as the town. Is that correct? Or do you also patrol in the village?
No, I just respond to complaints in the village if need be. That time in one of the reports when I went into the village was related to a phone call I received from the Department of Health. Someone actually from the village went to the hospital, Good Sam Hospital, regarding a possible dog bite. They left the emergency room, didn't give much information. The Department of Health was trying to reach them. He didn't respond. So they called me and I went to the home. He told me where the dog came from. I went to that household. The lady denied that it was her dog. But in my opinion, if you saw the pictures, it looks like when the gentleman reached underneath his fence to prevent that dog from entering his yard, I believe when he pulled back his hand got scratched by the fence. It didn't really look like a dog bite or a scratch. So I gave my report to the Department of Health, and they left that as a closed case, that didn't need to be investigated more.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael.
Thank you
for your report and your work as our animal control officer. As I said, I also have a report from the Justice Court, which is in the packet. And Marissa Dolbaum is up to bat, our town clerk.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just have a quick update. The request for a proposal went out for the tennis court and basketball court renovation, and the walkthrough will be Friday, March 18th at 9 a.m. for anyone who wants to participate. And the bid openings for the proposals will be Monday, April 4th at 1 p.m. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. And of course, you have your data in the report submitted to the town board, different licenses and things that were issued. Happy to say I got my fishing license through the town clerk's office. Excellent service. Got it in a jiffy. I'm sorry, Mercy. So you said that the tennis court inspection is 9 o'clock on Friday, and then the bid opening is Monday, the 4th of April at 1 p.m.
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Actually, I have that on my calendar already. Beautiful. All right. I guess we're down to town board members updates. I'll start with my update real quick. I did send this to you, Marissa and Mary at TPFYI. I hope you both got it. Try to save you taking notes on this. So on Wednesday, March 3rd, the Tuxedo Town Board held another Tuxedo Farms Marathon special meeting. Lennar presented its various home design elevations, which are exterior visuals, and explained how the various products will be modified to meet design standards that will be approved by the town board. Various material configurations and styles were presented. Monday, March 7th, Tuxedo's new chief of police, Tamara Dreyer, was sworn in and welcomed to her new position. Yay! She was given a tour of the police station and began familiarizing herself with the operations. A formal swearing in will be held in town hall at a future town board meeting after she receives her uniform. So our schedule was very busy this week, meeting officers from all different shifts, so she wasn't available to come this evening. But again, we'll have a formal swearing in at a future town board meeting soon to come. Wednesday, March 9th, the Tuxedo Local Development Corporation, the one that's responsible for the Hamlet revitalization that we spoke of earlier, held its annual meeting. The board, according to bylaws, consists of 2 town board members, which is myself and Michelle Lindsay, the planning board chair, John Bagno, and Greg Goucher from Related. The board is working to resolve required reporting and audit requirements that date back to at least 2018. So we're working hard trying to figure out and document previous actions of the board. But I can assure you every action that's been taken since 2020 and 2021 are fully documented, and the reports and audit will be completed shortly. Friday, March 11th, this past Friday, Deputy Town Supervisor Michelle Lindsay and I welcomed our new New York State Senator James Skoufis to Tuxedo Town Hall. He was accompanied by his Chief of Staff, Christine Foster, and Deputy Chief of Staff, Gabriella Madden. Mitch Newman of Lennar and Greg Goucher and Dylan Norris of Related gave the Senator an overview of the Tuxedo Farms project. Then we toured the site. We then visited the new wastewater treatment plant. Senator Skoufis was alerted to the challenging conditions of upgrading the aging Hamlet sewer lines and the expected activation of a new sewer plant in the late spring. Steve Germano of Steve's Pizza participated and spoke about why he's invested in Tuxedo and how he expects this new development to invigorate Tuxedo's business opportunities. Okay, that's it for my report. I'll turn it over to Michelle Lindsay.
Okay, first up is the Moody's call we had last week, followed up by their report, which was released this morning. This is for Moody's to rate the bonds we are issuing to refinance the outstanding 2003 and 2014 bonds. Those bonds have been issued to purchase the highway department property and to build the building and to purchase the police department and renovate that building. And the 2014 bonds were issued to purchase Quarry Field. So because the 2014 bonds has the larger balance and they're not callable until April 1 of this year, we really couldn't issue or put these new bonds out for sale until now. And so we scheduled March 17th as the sale date of the bonds. We did review the rates for these bonds last week and again this morning. Obviously, the rates have gone up with the turmoil in the markets, and we'll review the rates again tomorrow morning. The state comptroller has guidelines that says that savings need to be at least 4% on a present value basis of all debt service throughout the rest of the life of the bonds. So We will see where we are at. Obviously, we want to exceed 4%. So we'll take another look at it tomorrow and determine if we're going to go out for sale on Thursday.
Can I ask a quick question about that, Michelle?
Sure. Yeah.
So if the savings did not materialize, then we just stay
won't-
with the status quo and don't incur most of the fees. I think there was some minimal fees just for processing this.
The only fees that we've incurred is the Moody's review. That's it. And what our bond counsel and financial advisor have said is that we don't have to say we're not going to put these out for sale ever. We could just say we're not going out for sale on March 17th. We can wait, maybe in 6 months, the market will be more advantageous, and then we wouldn't have to pay Moody's until then.
Oh.
Or, yeah.
And I would imagine that evaluation by Moody's, I understand our rating was even more favorable than that. We keep
Well, yeah,
keep documenting a very positive position for the town, I believe.
yeah, there's a scorecard that Moody's uses and financial advisors use, and we are very much in a higher category than we are right now. The only thing that holds us back is our small tax base. That's it. Of course, that's going to change. So I'm sure we have only good things to look forward to. Also, the town was last upgraded in the fall of 2021. And at that time, we had the 2020 audit, we had the new reassessment of the state parklands, and we knew that Related was back at, in action. So there's really no change since the fall, and we don't have the 2021 audit yet. So they really couldn't upgrade us, but they are affirming A3 and a positive outlook. And they had a very nice write-up, which I got at the end of the day, and I'll circulate. Any other questions on the bonds? Okay, last meeting, we introduced the law to adopt a community choice aggregation program, CCA. And the public hearing on that law will be March 28th. And we like to have the public prepared as well as possible for public hearings. So the Climate Smart Community Task Force will host a workshop for the public next Monday, March 21 at 7 p.m. And it will be on WebEx. And Jeff Demansky, who gave the last presentation on this program, will give another presentation for the public. And this is for the public, so they get to ask all kinds of questions. It's not a town board meeting. It's for the public. And so we encourage everyone to come so that if you have any comments or questions at the public hearing, you'll have background information. The other thing I circulated today was to the town board was a link to a capital plan training session that I attended last month. And I have suggested to the town board that we set up a committee to look at a capital plan. We do have some things in the works right now, such as the tennis courts, and I feel that should be part of a capital plan. So I'd like to kind of set that around for discussion.
Items like police cars, equipment, these things that we're kind of reacting to as one-offs really need to be planned over typically a 5 to 7 year period. And since we do have the kind of fund balances that we were just looking at earlier, this is a good time to make sure that those kind of projects are anticipated and funded so that future town boards aren't caught by surprise how you're going to pay for these major items. I think that's basically what we're trying to do, right, Michelle?
Yeah, that's right. And, if you manage, if it's a recorded presentation, so he really goes through how to set up capital reserves, a capital plan. And I really think we need to do this so we're not just reacting to one-offs, as you said, to have a plan in place.
I mean,
And-
we're feeling the pain of this right now with the Hamlet Sewer District. Capital funding was never really allocated to maintain the infrastructure of sewer pipes, and now we're looking at 100-year-old terracotta pipes that look at how many water failures that are happening in the hamlet. That that's not the town's responsibility, but just as an example, these are the kind of projects that have been underfunded by municipalities for decades. And so I definitely take your point that we should be making sure that we're always budgeting for those future expenses that are coming.
Well, like for instance, the truck, it apparently that we're replacing was 2001 or something like that, 20-year-old truck. If we set up a schedule, when we purchase trucks and when we can expect that they need to be replaced, obviously that's not a perfect schedule because things break down, but at least have a plan in place, I think is something we really need to do. So I don't know if now would be a good time, but I wanted to ask Howard how other municipalities do this. Does it make sense to have a committee to identify projects for a capital plan? Do we want to do this offline, or I don't know. It was since we only get together at town board meetings, I'm not sure how to move that forward.
Are you, you're thinking a committee of town board members?
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Is
Yeah.
that what towns usually do, to just kind of report back to the full board, a
Yeah.
list of projects and?
Yeah, and, you need to consult obviously with department heads, but, yeah, but you're doing it internally and it's a good idea.
Okay.
How many years out typically is a capital plan? Is it 3, 5 years, 10 years?
Three
I
to
would say 5, but I don't know. What do you think, Howard?
3 to 5.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
So
we
I think
get
that-
it started with the fund balance, but make sure that, uh, you're dividing those anticipated costs by 5 and make sure that as the purchase rolls around, you pretty much have the money in the bank, so to speak.
Right. So I don't know how you want to move forward, if you want everybody to think about whether they want to get involved, and then, we
We'll
follow.
start with the department heads, absolutely. I mean, there's some that are so obvious that, it doesn't take a committee with a flashlight to identify them. I mean, the big ticket items, trucks and road repairs. Rob did a nice presentation about the, I forget the study. I think it might have been Corning. I forget which university.
Cornell, yeah, the Cornell study.
Right. And so, yeah, we
But we also have like this tennis court thing just kind of like came up, and there are other parks that could
absolutely.
use
Like town hall,
investment.
we have to put a roof on it, and then we got the SAM grant, right? And but all of these buildings constantly need maintenance. We're going to need a new HVAC unit in that building. That's ancient. Police department, same thing. We're doing a lot of just cobbling things back together, and yeah. So you've made your case,
Speaking
and
of
we
the-
need to move that forward.
Okay, so, well, we'll just continue the discussion, I guess. Who wants to get involved? But we'll,
Can we
as you
have,
said, we'll start.
can we start with an action step here? I mean, maybe we.
I'd love to. What would you suggest?
To Ken's point, maybe we should put together a memo to circulate to department heads as well as town board members for people to identify what they anticipate as capital expenses to be in front of the town for the next, within the next, let's just start with a 3-year period. So
Okay.
we could put a list together and start to cobble an outline of how to approach this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do
I
you-
mean, I'm happy to write the email and send it to, maybe you could help me, Ken, with who I should send it to, but we could start with a preliminary list of what the department heads foresee in the future as not a wish list so much as what are things that are going to be coming up that are going to need the attention of capital expense within the next 3 years. And we can take it from there.
Mhm.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay, I will do that.
Excellent. Yes.
Michelle, this is
Hi, Rob.
Rob. We're working on a plan like that as we speak. Between Claire and Travis and myself, we're working on a capital plan for all our equipment. As far as the buildings and stuff like that, that's not us, but we're still putting capital plans together for that type of stuff. So we're working on something right now in that order. We won't have anything together probably for another month or two, but we are moving ahead with something like that. So anyway, that's what we're doing.
Perfect. So then, okay, so we'll get that letter together and I guess it would get sent to other department heads.
Yeah, and then we'll put a, based on what Rob just said, maybe we put a due date of, say, June 1, gives everybody time to, accumulate everything. And then we can review it then. Thoughts? Good
No,
idea?
that sounds great.
That's it.
And I think if we all just kind of maybe start a Google Doc on things that we think would be good improvements to the parks. Obviously you've got the tennis court proposal coming up, but other parks and parking lots and all of that we could add to general improvements around town. So why don't we start a Google Doc and we'll.
Okay,
all
I'll
the
put
town
something
board-
together. Yeah, I'll put something together as, and then we can also rate it as, essential, non-essential, wish list kind of thing. Let me think
Right.
about it, but I'll put something together and I'll circulate it. And then everybody can have their comments and then I'll circulate it to the appropriate people.
Sounds good. Well, I'm sorry to take up so much time, but on that vein, I guess, or in that vein, I followed up with Precision Roofing to see where we are in the whole schedule of replacing the town hall roof. And they are in the process of getting their list of building materials approved by Fusco Engineering, and then they'll go out and order them. So they haven't ordered the materials yet. But in talking to him, I just asked him how much it would cost to add some upgraded insulation to the roof. And I can't say this word, 2-inch polyisocyanuric. What the heck is-
Isocyanates. If you go to the Home Depot, it's the tan foam with the silver paper on it.
Okay. And they, so they sent an estimate to replace that and to put plywood over the insulation for proper attachment of the roofing. And I'll send this around, but so the 2-inch poly would be 50,000 and a 4-inch which would have a greater R factor to save more energy would be 80,000. So I would say 50 would be something we might want to consider. But I just got this, so I'll circulate it around and we can make a decision at the next meeting.
Sounds prudent.
Okay, so I'll send that estimate around. Last thing was I'm gonna send this over to Deirdre to talk about the, when it's her turn to talk about our meeting with the Orange County Arts Council, so.
I just want to remind everybody that we do have an executive session that I'm expecting to take some time. So just a little forewarning. Okay. Deirdre, you're up to bat.
Okay, well, I'll save the big drum roll till we do I'm preparing a marketing program, a presentation on many of these ideas that we're working on. But we did speak to the Orange County Arts Council. They are a nonprofit group who have given us a presentation on how they can administrate activities for the town of Tuxedo, which for the arts. So whether it be theater, music, fine art, and they've come to us with a proposal so that we then would be able to put on different programs without having to tax the non-existent huge staff that we have. But anyway, so I am preparing that for another day. But basically, we've been talking to different people so that we can really start to bring more activity and a robust program to Tuxedo. Speaking of which, we're talking to the Chamber of Commerce about co-sponsoring the plein air event, so we can take away some of the administrative problems that we had last year, and basically funnel many of the funds through the Chamber of Commerce. They're very agreeable, so we're hoping to move that forward. And lastly, on my favorite project, which is Long Meadow Road, the committee that's working on that has gotten the endorsement of the town of Warwick to also request a reduction in the speed limit on Long Meadow Road. So at this point, I guess I have to ask Howard, what do we do now?
Well, yes, so now you would adopt a resolution petitioning for the change in the speed limit.
Okay, can I do that?
You can. Do you know what this proposed speed limit would be?
Well, we're proposing that we change the speed limit from 55 miles an hour from the intersection of Sterling Mine Road to 2 miles down Long Meadow Road, so it'll pass the Woodlands entrance, Eagle Valley Road, as well as the entrance to the Jehovah Witnesses, ending that speed limit reduction at Blue Lake. So that's exactly 2 miles from the beginning of the Long Meadow Road, 2 miles in, and then it can convert back to its current 55 mile an hour speed limit.
And reducing it to what?
35 miles an hour.
Okay, there's your resolution.
Okay.
So because we're the town village of Tuxedo, that doesn't require county approval, or?
No, wait, what my recollection is what we said we were going to do first was see if we could just go the route of asking the county to
Cooperatively
make the change. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Which
that's
is why,
what,
yeah.
that's what Deidre's been pursuing.
Yeah.
So it's a resolution kind of petitioning Orange County.
Correct.
Okay. And
Is there, I'm just thinking, can we extend it up to the highway department almost? Because there are a lot of trails that are on both sides of Long Meadow Road in Sterling Forest. So people park at Sterling Forest Visitor Center and then they cross Long Meadow Road to access the trails on the other side of the road.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't want to, I didn't want to be too enthusiastic. I was basically trying to be as realistic as possible. But we did get a really very supportive response from the town of Warwick. They've also had requests, particularly from the people who ride their bikes and walk along Long Meadow Road, about the problem that they've had with speeding as well as trucks. So, I could certainly do another, speed, like figure out the mileage that it would take to go that far. I did the mileage to Blue Lake.
I'd just like to caution you about that. We have heard from a few commuters and even town residents that use Long Meadow Road You know, and for the most part, 55, if you did do 55, is reasonable. And, you know, if you make it too low, you know, then you're almost encouraging people to break the law because, you know, it is an alternate route to Route 17 from north to south traffic. And, you know, I understand the concerns down at the south end with Eagle Valley and the Woodlands. And, you know, most hikers have, especially at that area, you know, of course, you're crossing a road, you have to use common sense and look both ways. But I just would raise that issue. I mean, it is commuters. And so anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Is what's the sight distance?
Yeah,
like
that's
that?
what I'm thinking of. When you come out of the visitor center, I'm not sure that there's a safe enough sight distance if you, even if you are looking both ways to
Well, I just leave it that the state set those limits and they must have done some analysis, but you know, I wouldn't suggest that we just do it because without a traffic study, and I'm not sure we want to authorize that, but go ahead, Jay.
I'm hearing a lot of technical terms casually tossed around, and I'm hearing a lot of good ideas brought up that haven't been
studied.
I'm not saying engineering study, but haven't really been thought through yet.
Well, can I just interrupt here to let you know that part of the request is that then Orange County then has to do a traffic study.
I understand that, and they will do a traffic study, but I guess what I'm hearing is scope creep on this length of reduction. So and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if we have an analyzed area that we're talking about and want to propose on that now, great. If we think we want to extend that area, let's finalize that internal process and then have something to vote on. I'm sorry, I feel like I lost a word there. Did that make any sense at all?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
To me.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think the committee that I've talked to is very happy with going 2 miles to Blue Lake at this point, because it does encompass all the entrances and exits along the beginning of Long Meadow Road. And they're afraid of, to be honest with you, of not getting anywhere if it becomes too much of an ask. That's the feedback from the committee I work with. But
well, maybe we start here and then see what the reaction is and then see if we could extend it or something.
Right, and maybe as part of when we're making this request to the county, we also ask them to, as part of the study, consider other areas that might benefit from a local reduction.
right, that's a good idea. Okay. So can we make a resolution to ask them for the 2 miles?
Yeah.
Of a
Yeah.
mileage reduction?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Do
now
I
what?
get
Can
a
we do all
second?
of it? Yeah, okay, can I get a second?
A second now.
Second,
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you all.
So just to be clear, this is a resolution to petition Orange County to consider our proposal.
Correct. And the town of Warwick is doing the same. on
Excellent.
that.
Excellent.
It buried the
And as-
lead. You should have
and as
started
you
with
were
that, so
saying-
we knew that we were in agreement with the 2 resolutions.
Ah, well, next time I'll start with the positives.
I
Okay,
would like them to, if you could add the language about checking the sight distance at the visitor center, that would be great, where people cross the road, because it is pretty dangerous.
I can also have the committee that I'm working with reach out to Warwick and have them add it too, because they're going to add their resolution next week. And I think
Yeah,
that's
I think we should pose mostly uh,
the tuxedo
what
part.
exactly what
Yeah.
what
So
resides in Tuxedo, and you
we
know,
can pass that
obviously
to.
we have the most interest in that, the parts of the road that are in Tuxedo.
Well, that's it for me.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think we still have Jay and Maria. Maybe not.
I'll go if you, unless you want to, do you want to go, Jay, or you want me to go? Mine's short, actually. So I started the process of reporting our expenditures that we incurred as a result of getting the money from the American Recovery Act. And February 28th, there were new guidelines, the final guidelines. So what happened is that there's a lot of guidance about how you can, what you can spend the money on, but there hadn't been too much on how to report what you spent. The first expense report is due April 30th to the US Treasury. And so on February 28th, 2022, they put out a compliance and reporting guideline, which I am in the process of going. I thank Brian for helping me. He gave me all the documentation that I need. The only thing I still need is the contract from Zoom Video Communication Inc. I have the one that we proposed and I think that we voted on, but I don't have one that's signed. We have spent about $88,000 of the 166,000 that we got. And so, I'm in the process of reading through the document. There is a way to file it online. And then on the 21st of March, Michelle shared with me an email from the Department of the U.S. Department of Treasury, and they're going to have a Zoom, a meeting, a webinar, but they also have other information like YouTube videos and stuff like that for how to do it. So I'm just, going through that process, and, Brian said he would support me. I've never done this before, so, I'm sure that I will need help as it goes, but at least I'm doing the legwork for this. And that's it. You have any questions? Anybody?
Jay?
Oh, yeah. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Maria.
Mine's even shorter. I won't bore everybody with the very mundane and technical work I've been doing behind the scenes. So there you go. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so need to move down to the resolution accepting the minutes. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the regular bi-monthly town board meeting held on February 28th. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Yeah. I know you guys have communicated with Marissa. Any further edits or additions you needed to make?
No.
Okay, all in favor of approving them?
Aye.
Hey,
Aye.
5 ayes. Okay, let's move to the vouchers. And I'm not sure, I see Jim Davies is up. He's going to be joining us in our executive session. Jim, we should be ready in about 5 minutes. Vouchers, I'll make a motion that the following vouchers having been audited by the town board are hereby approved for payment. Claim numbers 201-291-9741 through 201-291-9807. Note that 201-291-9741 and 201-291-9742 were included on a previous abstract. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second Deirdre.
Deirdre? Any further questions for on those? I don't have them in front of me. They're in the town hall, so if you have
Nope.
questions, I probably couldn't answer them. No? Okay, take a vote. All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5 ayes. I'm going to skip the other business at this point. We have people waiting to work with us on this. Conservation
Don't forget public comments.
I can't take public comments right now, Mary. If you got something quick, I'll open the table for you. But
I don't have one, but I think you have to have it.
I'll ask my attorney. Do we have to have public comments, Howard?
Well, it's been the history of the town of Tuxedo to have it. So I'd go with
Right.
Mary and say we should have.
Historically speaking, Mary, public comments.
We have two things in the chat if you want me to share those. In the
That's
chat,
fine.
there was a Howard Z said the Tuxedo Farms central business may be, the town central business might be redundant to the hamlet. Will those businesses get first preferences to open a branch to their primary location? And the other comment from Jerry was, I'm not understand, but Jerry, you're on the call, right? So I'm not sure what your comment is.
It looks like Jerry was having a private chat and replied to everyone by accident.
Oh yeah, I was like, I don't know what this means. So never mind. Jerry, if you want to say something, go ahead and say it, but this doesn't make sense to everybody else. Anyway, that's it for the chat.
Okay, so thank you for the public comment. I'm
So
gonna
I
make
guess
a
we have to do
motion.
a breakout session.
Well, I'm going to make a motion first. Enter into a consult with our attorney. We have a real estate consideration and a tax certiorari situation that we need to discuss. And Howard, I believe both of those are covered under the attorney and executive session rationales.
Yeah, and the exception, the tax certiorari involves litigation, so that's covered under the open meetings law exceptions. And the consult regarding the real estate is also governed under the just plain attorney-client privilege.
So we're trying to stringently follow open meetings law where you need to declare what reasons you're going into executive session, which we just did. And now we need to take a town board vote to enter an executive session. Made the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That was unanimous. So we need to do a breakout session, and Jim Davies will be joining us, and also
Do you
right.
anticipate coming out and taking action?
no. The only
Well, we may.
We might.
We actually may, because we have a motion that's waiting for the discussion.
Yes.
the motion would be whether we're hiring an appraiser for a tax certiorari. That would be the one thing we would be considering as an action. Either a yay or nay.
Okay, thank you.
Basically, Mary, it would be a vote on what is listed in the packet as agenda item 1.
Right, thank you.
Okay, Dale just joined the meeting, but Dale, we're going into executive session, so. Hello. Thank you for coming. So let's see if I can do a breakout session. Okay. Aid assignments.
And while Michelle's doing that, let me just thank everybody who's still bearing with us. And if you're still here when we get done, I'll be very impressed. But have a good night, one way or the other.
Just add that the yay or the nay to the resolution, item 1. Look what's in the packet. You pretty much know what we're talking about. You can read it
Okay,
right
I've
away.
assigned everybody. Hopefully you'll all get the little nudge.
So far, I don't see it, but
You see it yet?
No, not yet.
Ah. Oh, goodness.
looks like most people have bailed. But
All right, let me try one more time. Maybe I have to say move to session. How's that? You see anything yet?
negatory.
Ah, crying out loud. I don't know how to do this then. It says select, I selected. Now what?
Is there anybody on this that shouldn't be
Oh,
there?
there it is.
There it
How
is.
about
Yeah,
that?
I got it.
Yep.
Yay, I finally hit the right button.
I don't see it, but don't leave me.
Write down what you did.
So we're trying to figure out why you didn't get this.
If you could use the phone, I'd be fine with that. But
Everybody's in there. Oh, you know what? If we go back, only Dale and Larry. I'm not sure who that Larry is.
I think it's probably Larry Walensky.
No, I don't think so. No. So he came in later while Larry was already there.
Oh, okay.
Should I do all breakout sessions? Let me go. Let me do that. Try it one more time.
Okay.
I can.
I see you coming back. I do.
Don't forget to stop the recording too.
Thank you. Get done. Do that.
I think people have to bail themselves, right? Don't they have to click to say they're exiting?
Yeah. Now where are?
If they didn't click out,
You can fire me from this task. I will not do
I think you have to leave the breakout. I see Howard just
Okay.
came to the
Okay.
How's everybody back? It looks like it. I see
Who do you see? Do you see Howard?
Jay, see Howard, you.
Oh, okay.
So, Deirdre.
All
I
here.
think we have everybody but Maria.
We're all here except for who?
Maria.
Oh, Maria. How do we lose her?
And Michelle, just don't forget to stop recording this part.
I'm trying to do that. Thank you. So it says, come on. Oh, I know. It's probably in the dots.
Text Maria and see if
Oh,
she
there it
can
is.
click the exit.
Yeah.